Are we live? Are we live? Are we live? What's going on YouTube? Brand new day of trailers. Sorry, I'm a little late to the game. I was out all day. I was rushing back as soon as I could. Seeing the Shang-Chi trailer is out. And we also have the announcement of The Flash. This is their first day of filming. It's officially begun production. So we're going to break it down. We're going to talk about it all. So sit back, hit the subscribe button, click the bell. We already like the same TV shows. So go ahead and join the team. Let's get into this Shang-Chi trailer. And I'm going to explain a little bit about the Shang-Chi trailer as well as the character itself, because he's not a very well-known character. So we're going to explain a little bit of that. What's going on with Fu Manchu versus the Mandalorian, as Marvel really doesn't have rights to the character Fu Manchu right now, but not the Mandalorian, the Mandarin from Iron Man 3. So be sure to hit me up with any questions you got down in the comments right here. I'll be chatting it up with you guys too. And let's just get into the day. So the Shang-Chi trailer released earlier this morning. And man, what a well done trailer as far as action, as far as the musical composition, all of it was just spot on. We got a little bit of a voiceover from Shang-Chi's father. Okay, Shang-Chi's father in the comic books back when the character first came out. Sorry, I hit the microphone. When it first came out was Fu Manchu. Marvel had recently bought the rights to that character back in the day, and they were using him because superheroes started to wane and people were into martial arts in the 80s and such. And so they got the character Fu Manchu and decided to go with a spin-off story about Fu Manchu's son, Shang-Chi. Now, Shang-Chi grew up in the ranks being trained by the greatest martial artists. And as of right now in the MCU, well, not in the MCU, yeah, arguably in the MCU as well as in the comics, he is the best fighter in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as well as the Marvel comic book universe, being able to beat the likes of Captain America, Spider-Man, Black Panther, all of those great combatants, Black Widow, etc., in hand-to-hand combat. So long story short, Shang-Chi ends up turning against his father, Fu Manchu, and ends up becoming the greatest master of martial arts, fighting against his father and those forces. Now, Fu Manchu has all the forces of evil at his disposal, and he basically, their comic book run is he sends them all after him. This dude has no powers, but his power is just being such a good hand-to-hand combatant that it's basically seen as a superpower. What you could equate this to is kind of like a DC's Batman, supposed to be up there in martial arts ability, but then just crank that up even more. So in a fight, Shang-Chi would be able to, and this hurts as a Batman fan, he would be able to beat the likes of Batman, the likes of anyone who has hand-to-hand combat experience and stuff like that. People like Moon Knight in the MCU, these fantastic fighters, Spider-Man. Shang-Chi's been known to be so quick that he can dodge bullets. And obviously, one character that comes to mind, as we've seen in the Netflix series, is the Iron Fist, right? And so Danny Rand, the Iron Fist, was supposed to be this great martial artist, and he is, and he's got powers, able to focus his chi into these unbreakable fists. But Shang-Chi is on another level when it comes to hand-to-hand combat, and would barely even need to really engage with somebody like Iron Fist on the level of hitting his unbreakable fist in order to beat somebody like that. So anyway, the trailer starts with a voiceover from Shang-Chi's father. Now, this may end up being the Mandarin because basically Fu Manchu was seen as kind of a stereotype back in the day, and he got less and less popular because of the way that he was depicted. And one character that we've already kind of seen is the Mandarin in the MCU. He was last seen in Iron Man 3. You guys remember that one? They may go a different route, introduce another character. They had Ben Kingsley playing the Mandarin in Iron Man 3. So who knows if he'll come back? I highly doubt it. There have been no casting rumors that Ben Kingsley was in the realm. But whoever was speaking in that voiceover part was Shang-Chi's father. So this movie is going to act as an origin story for the character, obviously letting a lot of folks, a lot of Americans and people all around the world get to know the character because, like I said, he wasn't too popular. He hit his peak of popularity in the 80s, but since then, he's pretty much only been seen in like a video game or two. I think it was Marvel's Future Fight on iOS. Maybe he might have been in the Marvel vs. Capcom video games, but other than that, he hasn't been in popular media at all. So This is a big debut for him, and so with that, they're going to want to do an origin story and introduce his character. So a lot is going on today. Oh, by the way, be sure to stick around because we're going to talk about the Flash. I know I missed that too. I was out all day. Again, I was rushing to get home so I could cover this stuff. But yeah, we also got the announcement that the Flash is in production. Michael Keaton is currently flying out to the UK right now to begin shooting, but we'll get to that a little bit later in the show. So back to the trailer, we have some awesome action sequences. You know that the fighting sequences are going to be on point. Marvel's bringing their best choreographers, fight choreographers, stuntmen. It looks like the actor here is in fantastic shape. Let me get his name here so I don't sound ignorant on the internet right quick. Shang-Chi, the character Shang-Chi. Um, it looks like they're really going to go out of their way to make this a something that everybody can enjoy, not only the international market but also the folks in America. And Disney has kind of had a weird relationship with that. If you remember the Mulan movie that had come out last year and its release, some of those storylines and things had gotten changed because they were deemed culturally insensitive and not true to the Mulan story. I'm pretty sure that they will go a similar route with the Shang-Chi movie. And this is because if you look at characters like Shang-Chi's father, aka Fu Manchu, again, he was seen as a racist depiction of a character like that. And so I doubt Disney is going to go with the old story. They're going to correct some things to kind of get with the times a little bit. But the actor playing Shang-Chi himself is none other than Simu Liu. I hope that I'm saying his name correctly. But there's Aquafina. If you guys remember her from Crazy Rich Asians, she was also the voice of the dragon in the Disney movie Raya and the Last Dragon. Hilarious actress. She's going to be playing Katie. AKA, you guys, we saw her in the end scene in the trailer where she's driving the bus and the bus is going nuts. It didn't really show what had gone wrong with the bus, but somehow they lost control. And you saw Shang-Chi just saving all these people from flying out of the bus, literally. So that all looked good. But remember, the story deals with Shang-Chi being pursued by his father. Now, that's probably going to be the Mandarin, as I said, and he's going to be sending all of his goons after Shang-Chi because he broke ties with his father. And so that's going to get into different people from all around the world coming after Shang-Chi himself and him kind of showing himself as a true fighter in the MCU. Let me tell you this, okay? This movie is probably going to be one of the best, like top 3, top 2 hand-to-hand combat movies, period, because that is the gist of his power. This is basically going to be like Jason Bourne on steroids. You think about the best hand-to-hand combat movies you can think of, like the Jason Bourne series, etc., like Keanu Reeves movie, what is it? John Wick. You think of movies like that, just these crazy stuff. It's going to be on another level. It's going to have to be. When you think about the size of this movie, you think about the production and the scale of this movie, the choreography, the fight choreography is going to be like nothing that we've ever seen. I can guarantee it. And they have to do this because they have to solidify Shang-Chi's stance in the MCU as the single greatest hand-to-hand combatant in the MCU. So he's going to be able to best the likes of Black Widow. He's going to be able to best the likes of Ronan, aka Hawkeye. It's not even going to come close. Danny Rand, all of those people. It's not even going to come close. So look forward to that as well. And before we get too deep into the Flash and the stuff that came out today, we'll get to that in a second. But I want to cover a couple other things from the trailer that we saw. As far as the MCU and whether we're going to see the Mandarin and things like that. I'm getting an ad right here. Hold on. Here we go. Here's the trailer. So we have him punching the tree. This was talking to his fame, not to his fame, his training with, I'm going to call him Mandarin, but when I say Mandarin, just assume Fu Manchu as well, as we're not really sure which character they're going to go with as far as Shang-Chi's father. We have him saying, I gave you all these years to live a life and look what you've done with that. And we can see, that Shang-Chi is basically a valet with all that talent. He's serving valet at fancy hotels. For other people, he's hanging out with his best friend in the movie, Aquafina's character, Katie, just living a normal life. Now, the dude looks absolutely cut. I mean, he's in great shape for this movie. He's going to have to be, because, a lot of people from the 80s, the 90s, that era, and even today will be comparing Shang-Chi with Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee was responsible for that big martial arts boom, especially in the United States. And so, old fans of the even the Shang-Chi comics, as well as Bruce Lee, they're going to be looking at anybody taking on that kind of mantle as master of kung fu, master of martial arts. They're going to be comparing that to the Bruce Lee, not the Bruce Lee character, because he was a real dude. So he goes on saying, you've lived this life basically useless as a valet. Here we have a shot of him training, when he was a young kid. And it looks like he makes his way. He left at some point. He left his home and went to the States when he was a young kid. And you see him making the return earlier on in the trailer. His father talks about, I trained you so that the most dangerous people in the world could not kill you. So that's some serious training there, I guess you would say. So we have that, and then we have the 10 rings that show up on Shang-Chi's arm. So we know the movie is called Shang-Chi and the 10 Rings, or the Legend of the 10 Rings. And what we see is that they're actually rings that are on his arm. Now, is this going to be something that's imbued with some kind of superpower or something? Because remember, the character Shang-Chi does not have superpowers. So that would not really be in accordance with the comic books. A little later, they kind of mess with some stuff like that. Especially when you think of him like deflecting bullets and stuff, that may be powers or whatever. But by the book, he Shang-Chi doesn't have any powers, but he's got the 10 rings. And so we'll be looking to see what the story behind the 10 rings is. But throughout the trailer, we basically see him in hand-to-hand combat with several different characters. These are all in the MCU, by the way, but they're all new characters. This is one of the first movies we've gotten in a long time where we've gotten so many brand new characters introduced. You think Doctor Strange, you think Guardians of the Galaxy, where you got, movies where they're introducing a whole new world in the MCU. So it's going to be nice to see some of these martial artists, some of them looking imbued with special abilities. But here we see Shang-Chi fighting with the 10 rings. We see some, throwback footage of the war and wars that were happening back in Shang-Chi's homeland, in the kingdom in which his father reigns. And then obviously the big set piece for the trailer is the bus scene. So this movie looks really exciting. I mean, I'm definitely down for it. I think they're going to do a good job with it. Again, it's they're going to be trying to be culturally sensitive like they were with the Mulan movie. But this movie comes out September 3rd. So look for that to drop September 3rd, 2021. Not too long. Remember, the box offices are breaking out big time for this movie. So you know that it's going to be something good. We know that Godzilla versus King Kong kind of opened all that up. So then finally, guys, let's get into The Flash and the announcement that happened. There's some news with Michael Keaton as well as the Flash movie. Now, there's no subtitle for this movie. It's not like Into the Multiverse or anything like that. But starting off right off the bat, unfortunately, this movie is going to continue from the Justice League, okay? Not the Snyder Cut, unfortunately. So a lot of the things that are happening in the story are going to be dealing with what was going on after the Justice League, which is Joss Whedon's version of the Justice League. So none of the nightmare sequence stuff that we saw from the Zack Snyder Cut is going to be relevant or have anything to do with this new Flash movie. I guess what we could really hold to be true in this new movie is the stuff that happened with Crisis on Infinite Earths, with the Arrowverse on the CW, things like that. Those things are kind of going to be canon, but right now, nothing in Snyder Cut is held as canon. Now, there was some news happening online really quick. I want to digress for a minute, talking about Chris Hemsworth saying that he had seen the Snyder Cut and it was amazing, and him calling on Warner Brothers to release the Snyder Cut. That story is not true. So I want to debunk it right here for anybody who's like hearing that story and like wondering anything about that. It's not true. And obviously, that would be a ginormous conflict of interest if Thor from the MCU is claiming to have seen the Snyder Cut, even though he definitely did. They're all not allowed. Like they're almost bound contractually not to, promote, or it's like a non-compete clause. They're not allowed to promote anything that's in direct competition with Marvel as the DC movies are. So for anybody hearing that story that Chris Hemsworth had seen the Snyder Cut and was calling on Warner Brothers to release it, that is not an accurate story. They might be in support. They might very well be in support of the movie, but they're not allowed to say as much. So the Flash movie began shooting today. Production day one was today, this Monday, April 19th. And Michael Keaton, who was rumored to be in and then out, on again, off again, as playing Batman in this new universe, he will be in the movie. He flew out to the UK and he's there right now shooting the brand new scenes for the Flash movie. So again, this will be picking up on the continuity outside of the Snyder Cut, and it's going to deal with Ezra Miller's Barry Allen as he, deals with Iris, like we saw. Now, here's the thing. Well, Iris would probably be introduced in this movie because she was not in Justice League. They didn't have that scene where he saved her and all that stuff. So she had pretty much non-existent role in the Justice League. I try to forget that movie, but if I'm remembering correctly, she wasn't in it at all. So there's a whole bunch of characters that they need to introduce. Barry's father, which everybody knows from like the Flash TV show. And if you've read the comics, you know that Flash's father, Barry's father, was put in jail after being framed by the Reverse Flash for the murder of his mother, and he was serving time in jail. And that's how Barry got into, being a CSI and all that kind of stuff. That's how he got involved with law enforcement, and that's how he really was who he was at the time of the accident where he got struck by the Speed Force lightning. But yeah, overall, that movie has started, and Michael Keaton is on board. Now, he's going to be Batman. At this point, the DCEU has, count them, 1, 2, 3 Batmans. Michael Keaton's Batman, Ben Affleck's Batman, and of course, Robert Pattinson's Batman as well. So he's not going to be really seen as being part of the DCEU. Robert Pattinson, he will just be in the Batman. But of course, with this multiverse thing happening and with Warner trying so hard to destroy the Snyderverse and stop the Snyderverse from happening, they're probably going to try some mess. They're going to try and pull some mess in this movie in order to bring Robert Pattinson's Batman into the main DC continuity, Earth 1, which is where Henry Cavill's Superman is, etc. So, and that's also the same universe in which Dwayne The Rock Johnson's Black Adam movie takes place. So all that's happening there. And so I'm highly suspicious that they're going to try and bring in Robert Pattinson's Batman to be the main Batman. As far as Michael Keaton's Batman, he's going to reprise his role as that Batman from the Batman. I mean, he is Batman, as he said. So he's going to be continuing as that Batman from that same continuity, and he will either be a mentor to Barry in the way that Ben Affleck was supposed to be. Remember, those rumors came right a little bit after we heard that Ben Affleck was having some issues in his personal life and may not be able to be the Batman for that movie. So obviously this would throw a big monkey wrench in everybody's hopes and dreams for Joe Manganiello as well as Ben Affleck showing up in a Batman solo movie, or a spin-off series on HBO Max. So my Snyder Cut warriors, my Snyder Cut fans, keep pushing, keep using the hashtag. It's already broken the Twitter record for most used hashtag. And guess what number 2 was? Restore the Snyderverse is number 1. And guess what number 2 was? Release the Snyder Cut. So it's definitely top of the mind for everybody on social media right now is what's going to be happening with the Snyder Cut, is what's going to be happening with the DCEU at large. But right now, it's very clear that Warner and the folks over at DC are pushing very hard to remove Ben Affleck and any trace of the Snyderverse from the main DCEU and bring in Michael Keaton's Batman, Robert Pattinson's Batman as the two Batmen of the DCEU, and have, basically everybody else gone. So definitely keep up with the hashtags, keep up with the use on social media. This is a long fight, but it's worth it. And this should be nothing new to us. We fought 4 years for the Snyder Cut, which I'm still watching to this day. I keep watching it over and over again. Fantastic movie. So we fought 4 years for that. So however long this takes to get the Snyder Cut, the Snyderverse restored, should not be an issue. So with that being said, that is a quick look at the Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings official teaser trailer that dropped today, as well as the announcement that the Flash movie is now in production with Michael Keaton, Ezra Miller in tow. So let me know what you think down in the comments below. As always, I'd love to chat it up with you guys. This will kind of be our main video that we'll use for our Snyder Cut discussions, unless news breaks pretty soon. April 22nd should be our next date for getting big news about the Snyder Cut, because AT&T is going to be releasing its quarterly earnings for Q1 2021, which will include both Godzilla versus King Kong as well as Snyder Cut numbers. They won't be super specific about it, but we can, based on the previous performance of the Godzilla movies, and the fact that the new movie is tracking much the same way as the previous ones, which is not a slouch by any means, but certainly AT&T is looking to post a big quarter, and much of that, I would argue 50 to 60% of that, will be on the Snyder Cut alone. So let me know what you think down in the comments. Be sure to hit a like, hit the like button, subscribe. Getting tongue twisted, it's too late. I'm getting older, one of the two. Hit the subscribe button, click the bell so that you don't miss. We already watch the same show, so you might as well join up. And be sure to follow our sister channel, the La Quente Ledger, which I started with my best friends over there. We do great content as well. You don't want to miss. We got tech, we got sports, we got movies and TV shows as well over there. I just released a new video for the best 4K monitor you can get under $300 today in 2021. And we got the new Apple event coming tomorrow. So I will be doing coverage when that event happens. I'll be tweeting about it, and I'll release a video to recap the event that happens tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern. So be there or be square. Hit the subscribe button to both channels, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks, guys. Have a good night. Peace.